So one of the things that you might commonly do with a data structure like this, a model like this, is that you might want to show full name quite a bit. And if you find yourself, constantly concatenating to get the full name, it might get a little frustrating after a while. There's a number of things you could do. You could end up putting another column in your database where you could end up, storing full name. And, you could even use, getters and setters in order to store that in the database. But that's always a problem because that's basically redundant data. We call that non-normalized data, where you have a third column that's really made up of a combination of these two other columns. But one of the things you can do with Sequelize is have something called the virtual method. So again, I'm going to pull this in just to make my life a little bit easier. These are all the types that we've been using. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do full name. And I'm going to make this a virtual method. So the type is going to be virtual. And what this says is, hey, look, I'm not storing this in the database, but I actually want it to be a property. So you end up putting a get here. And what you could end up doing, and I see a lot of folks sometimes make this mistake, myself included, where I'll end up returning, and we want to concatenate these two values. And you might be inclined, because when you were using a get on first name or before, we ended up using, this get data value first name. You don't have to do that. You could actually, and we only had to do it before because if not, we would have found ourselves in an infinite loop. But here you could actually just get the values by saying, hey, look, we want to use first name. We want to put a space here. We want to do last name. Again, our template literals, instead of having pluses all over the place. And what this is going to end up doing is that now when we look at Mo, we'll have this property. So if we make an API call and we end up doing a find all or find one to just get Mo, we'll end up having Mo here. And just to be clear, right, if we end up going in and describing our users, we don't see anything about full name. And that's just the way we want it. This is just basically Sequelize, when it goes and returns the data, will return a property, but the value of that property it'll end up getting from this get method. And this could be something very useful in terms of having properties which are basically, in the end, more than likely, it's going to be properties that are based on things that are stored in the database.